Welcome to Success Your Own Way, a podcast about how real people define and redefine success throughout their careers. Hosted by Tina and Yifat Rogers, this show features candid conversations with guests who've made intentional choices, navigated change, and built lives aligned to their values. Their guests share their stories as well as strategies and tactics that help them along the way. Tina's a certified coach and a former corporate leader who supports professionals in making confident, values-driven decisions. Yifat is a consultant with a background in food science and engineering, helping people solve complex problems with a practical, no-nonsense approach. Each episode offers inspiration and actionable insights for anyone rethinking what success looks like in their life and how to get there.
Before we jump in, a quick note. We had some audio issues while recording the episode. You may notice a few awkward transitions and slight volume changes where we had to re-record parts. Thank you for bearing with us. And with that, welcome to Success Your Own Way. Welcome to our second season of Success Your Own Way. For our first episode, I'm so excited to have my friend and mentor, Tamanna Ramesh, join us. Tamanna is a leader in the food and beverage industry. She believes that success doesn't have to follow one script. Her career spans Kraft Heinz and the Coca-Cola Company with innovation at the center of her journey. After moving to the US as an international student, she climbed the corporate ladder to lead global initiatives with ever expanding scope and impact. She's also the founder of Spark Careers, where she has helped more than 200 international professionals overcome career and visa roadblock. Outside of work, she enjoys hiking, traveling, reading, and exploring cuisines and cultures. She also has long-standing record of service with the Institute of Food Technologies, where she founded the Women's Resource Group, chaired divisions, and served as a regional president. Welcome, Tamanna, to our show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. It's one of the most fun parts of, I don't know, like corporate slash trying to like have a side career, meeting new people like yourself, and just like sharing real stories, real inspirations, right? Putting it out there. So thanks so much for having me. A little bit of context. I'm a dual careerist. Like you said, I have a corporate job. I work in one of the largest food and beverage manufacturing companies. And at the same time, I run a side hustle, which started off to be like a little passion project that grew to become a decently small business that is continuing to grow beyond what I envisioned initially.
Speaking of success your own way, what was your definition of success when you were growing up and as a student?
Absolutely. So I actually moved to the States about 11 years ago as an international student. And when I did, success to me meant getting world-class education from one of the most advanced countries in the world. I grew up in India. We had great education, but I was a food science major, and food science wasn't as established as a discipline back in my country. So I started looking at different options abroad, and US stood out as an English-speaking country with great established food science curriculum. So I was very excited to start my career slash education journey in the US. And when I did, success to me was GPAs and scoring good grades and like just being a good student.
How did your definition of success change as you transitioned into grad school and then into corporate America?
When I did my part-time MBA program, I swear I didn't actually know what my grades were for the 2 whole years because I was juggling a full-time job, and my intent of doing the MBA was to like upskill and educate myself. And I decided if I was going to focus on grades and my full-time job and my personal life, I'm just going to drive myself crazy. So I chose not to. I still don't know what it is. I know I passed, I got the degree, but I think there are some things that culturally were embedded as very important success criteria that I had to evolve and let go of over the period of time. And right now, I'm in the works of defining what success means, but it looks more like living a balanced life, being more healthier, or integrate like my work and life together to a point where I feel like myself. And it's such a vague metric of success that's hard to like define, but I think it's just what feels good and right at different stages of life, especially as things unfold, right? But I'm definitely curious to know, like, how, I guess, like how you guys define your success. I know we talked about you both being also dual careerist, or at some point have had that, double hatting life. So curious to know more about that too.
I love it. Yeah, it's similar. I think you're hitting on some themes of where it was very head based, maybe, and it's evolved into heart based and full life. And I think part of part of what I think about is the fact that I did put the time in where I was very head focused, allowed me this luxury now of being more heart focused and being more mindful and intentional with how I spend my time. And I think, that's been a real game changer for myself and for my whole family, actually. So, Yifat, how about you?
Yeah, so my definition changed very similar to both of yours. While I was kind of in corporate, it was title, it was, envisioning and doing all of these. What does life look like 5 years from now? And I think that to me, almost moving away from that is part of my definition of success. The chase after what does success look like in 5 years? Like we are living now. Let's focus on success now. And honestly, success may look for me one way in the morning and a different way in the evening. It kind of goes back and forth. But if you don't mind, this is the first time we kind of talked about GPAs and being students and kind of thinking about success that way. And I'm like, yes. I reflected on, having master's and PhD. I feel like I've been in the school mode for so long that it's like no wonder. And being in school is easy to define success. There are grades, did you pass your test, did you get your PhD? And then when you move to corporate world, you never make that switch. Like I don't feel I ever made that switch. And I have an insight moment here, so thank you so much. It's like, okay, I just taking the same mindset and continue where the mindset needs to change based off of the circumstances. So sorry, I'm having like a revelation right now.
No, I
that.
feel that so much because I see a lot of like young professionals struggle when they switch from college, university life to like corporate, because you're you're not in a comparable set of cohort. You have mixed experiences, diverse group of people you're at par with and are competing for similar roles with, which makes it so much harder because you tend to become harder on yourself and
Yeah.
thinking, oh, I should be here, I should be there. And I think comparison is truly the thief of joy in corporate life. Like once you start looking at, oh, what about them and what about them, and it steals that momentum you have going for yourself. I think the biggest struggle I had was the transition from being a student to being a corporate professional. As a student, I had peer groups, all my own age group or range of age that I find relatable. And then in corporate, I was the only, youngling among all experienced people, and that put me in a very uncomfortable spot. And it was always hard to know if I was doing well enough. 10
Yeah.
years in, I'm like, oh, that was actually like confusing. I didn't know how to like shift it into a lens of, oh, I need to compare myself with how I was yesterday versus comparing myself against experienced people who have been doing it for so long and beating myself up that I was not at par with that performance, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
Makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
Lots of revelations here.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we often ask what's a decision you made that changed your life. I actually want to change it a little bit, and kind of it's a question I can only ask immigrants, I think. If you reflect on you at 15, did you ever envision yourself ending up where you're sitting right now, like talking to us?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I had no interest of, I didn't even think that going abroad was an option. I didn't think a lot of things that I'm doing now would even, it's beyond my wildest dreams, in all honesty. And it just made me so excited that I could study about the thing that I love so much. And I changed my mind completely from trying to do like a hardcore engineering to like, oh, if I'm, enrolling in college, which I was going to anyway, I would only study food engineering and nothing else. So I was very laser focused. And I think that was a moment of leading with heart. If I were to think about it now, it's actually scary. I don't know how I made that decision without knowing a clear career path. It was just jumping into it, just knowing that I would enjoy it, right? As an adult, I struggle to make similar decisions now because I'm thinking about rational outcomes, possibilities, probability of success. But when I was 15 or 17 as a teenager, I just was fully like driven by my heart, and I'm so glad that my family empowered me to like make that decision for myself. I chose to enroll in a university that or institution that had only like one batch of students prior to me. So they hadn't even graduated when I joined. So it was a startup of a college. And I just knew that it was the right thing to do. And it was completely feeling it in the heart and bones and just going with my gut. And I'm so grateful for a lot of things that worked out in the way it did. A professor actually from the US came to my university or institution at that time, delivered a speech about, I think it was like color coded indicators for milk spoilage. So they were doing some gold nanoparticle research, and I was just like, oh my God, this is awesome. I need to go to a country where advanced food research was happening. And it just was that other moment of just following. I think it was a little bit of mine, but more of, again, just that excitement of, oh my gosh, the possibilities are endless. So I think as a teenager, I'm just glad that I had that courage in me to just go for it. I absolutely had zero idea that I would end up here in this moment, and it's just all like unraveling like nothing I had ever thought about.
I understand that completely. I think the word courage, has come up as thematic for individuals who have made big shifts in their careers. It's come up pretty consistently, and I think for those, of you listening who are contemplating a big change or afraid to make one, courage is really that cornerstone of making that leap and taking that chance. And you've heard from many of our guests that those risks have paid off, and those who didn't right away made a switch back, that works too. So I think that's very wise. Thank you,
Yeah.
Tamanna.
One
You
one
touched.
of our guests, I keep reflecting, I keep going back to Mark and what he said. Being brave is not being scared. Being brave is being scared and doing it anyway.
So
I have him in my head multiple times a day. Tina, you may want to. It's like, hey, Mark. Thank you.
I will let him know for sure. I love that.
yeah, absolutely. I think that has been the way of choosing to stay courageous now, because now it's actually scarier. At that point, I don't know, like young calf knows no fear, sort of like I didn't think too much. I was not as afraid. But now with big changes, even though I've made many of them, like shifting from a food science R&D career to like strategy, management, moving from Kraft Heinz to Coca-Cola, and building out a side hustle in an area of career coaching that I have like zero formal training in. A lot of these things needed courage, but I was scared, and there was fear of failure that started creeping in. I think the more I grew in my career and more pivots I made, I've realized I have more of an imposter syndrome that I did not have early on, because now I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing this thing that I was not trained for. I'm doing this that, even though I'm still producing success and I'm still seeing like a lot of positive outcome, and I'm still being welcomed into roles that I have no experience doing, because they trust that I've managed to shift from like a scientist role to strategy, so I could do like so many other things. But internally, it seems that there is the fear, and then there's also that like lack of confidence that slowly started growing over time. So I have to like do a pulse check and say, hey, you did XYZ and you can do like ABC now. It's not impossible. But I think being able to reflect on one's own path to derive that confidence is so important because, again, we all get caught up in that trap of comparison or trap of overthinking that it's helpful to check like a quick fact check on the things you've done, you've learned and evolved to become. I'm definitely curious with all the speakers that you've had, and with imposter syndrome being more recognized and acknowledged now than ever before. Are there any insights that you've gathered and based on your reflection you have that could help me slash anyone who's listening too?
Most definitely was a theme. And I think, I don't know, maybe Tina, you'll correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was more of a theme for the female that we talked to, and a little less than the men. And to me, the insight was almost that imposter syndrome is getting worse the higher you go. And my aha is not necessarily that you're now sitting in smarter rooms. I don't think leaders and directors and VPs are any smarter than a junior scientist. You're sitting in rooms that are perceived to be smarter, and then you need to find your place within that. So to me, the insight was, oh, it's not getting better with time, it's getting worse with time.
Worse with time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so,
I definitely
true.
feel that. Yeah.
Yeah, so true. I actually did a webcast on this topic a month, well, by the time this airs, several months ago. But the thing is, it's very, very common, and it is generally a protection mechanism because there's not evidence, and you're a smart woman, and we talk to many, many smart people who have data to suggest that they're amazing, that they are very trainable, that they are very good at what they're doing, that they are capable of doing far beyond where they are. Hard facts. And yet the doubt creeps in. It's to protect yourself, generally speaking. It's to keep you safe. It's that fight or flight. It's that, if I tell myself that I am not ready for this, or I'm not good enough, or I'm, a fraud or an imposter, then it protects me from other people telling me that, which I don't want to hear. And so it's really a complete fallacy, but you can overcome it. There's some tips in my webcast as well, but some things is to keep an evidence log. And keep it visible to you so that when you feel that doubt creeping in, you look at that. The other main one is just to recognize that it's happening and create a different voice in your head from you're a fraud, you don't belong here, to I know what I'm doing. I am the expert. I know more than the other people in this room. And sometimes that can snap you out of that moment as well. So those are two of my favorites. But thank you. It's hot. It's a really hot topic for me. I run into that with my clients all the time.
Yeah, and with career coaching, I've realized how much of that I hear from so many clients thinking that, oh, I have an MBA from, India or another country. That's not going to be enough to get this job in the US, or thinking that so many of my clients repeat the same things. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel you, I hear you, I feel that same way, but I'm just going to help pull you out by just saying things that deflect or that challenge you to reassess if that's actually true. And then a lot of them landed roles that they thought were too much for them or they were not ready for, just by the push of saying, hey, go apply for it even if you don't think you're ready for it, right? But with recent corporate restructuring, I think I've shared with you that I was impacted a couple of months ago, and my company provides a 6 week buffer to find an internal role to land internally. If I can interview, manage to get an offer. If not, then you basically get a severance. So that particular experience was so deep for me because the few weeks after I heard the news, it made me rethink how I got to where I was and what all decisions happened. And suddenly in that moment, I felt I could never get another job. And this is me after coaching hundreds of STEM professionals, talented immigrants through, their career path, and with so much of confidence building my own career. And then in that moment, it's like it just snapped, and you're wondering if you're good enough, and if, like this was coming all along because you didn't have XYZ experience, or you didn't play the politics, or you shied away from having difficult conversations. There's just like so many, thought process that were deeper than I've ever experienced. And one thing that stood out to me is just realizing that how when you don't have a job, you your self-esteem or like your confidence dips. And then once I landed a role, I landed multiple offers and felt I could get any job in the world. And I was just baffled because I thought I didn't identify as much of my personal identity with my day job because I have all these other aspects to my life. And yet, when it happened, it just sort of like was opposite to what I thought, my identity was. So I've been trying to like rebuild and rethink for the next time it ever happens. And I'm sure corporate careers, we all would experience it at some point or another. I want to be better prepared and better like better manage it without giving in to that moment of doubt and weakness, right? So there was just so much of, I mean, no career conversation, career month, mentoring experience could help people experience that as much as like a layoff or actual like impact to your job. And I know a lot of people now are going through layoffs with like Nestle and few other big corporations announcing that. So I just want to put it out there that a moment of disruption could actually help recognize your blind spots and strengths even face. I didn't think I would land an internal role. I didn't think I'd land an external role, but I got 3 offers internally and I was just like, what? Like how? But then again, the confidence came back to say, oh my gosh, I have all these amazing experience. I deserve to have it. I'm so glad it happened and I knew it would happen. And suddenly it just flipped. Absolutely.
Your story resonates with me too. I was laid off in 2023, and it's what propelled me into being a coach. And I will tell you that that experience has made me a much better coach. I'm so curious what role mentors have played in your life and your career.
Absolutely. I mean, I've had numerous mentors over the years, starting with formal mentors to like seasonal mentors to one-on-one mentors where we just have one conversation, but it sort of like stuck a chord with me and I would try to like reflect and act on it. But over the years, I think there's just been so many people who have touched my career and my life. One of them, for example, her name is Tracy. We volunteered together in the women's resource group with, I know, Yifat, you're now
She's
leading.
amazing.
Yeah, she once told me, oh, I see you on a TEDx stage. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I never thought I could do like, I mean, it's not that I never thought I could do it, but I never thought of doing it up until that point. And then I was like, oh, maybe I could. And part of my like next 12 to 24 months, like one of my wish list slash vision is to be able to come up with that as a goal and try to like pursue it, because I think I have a lot to share and I just want to think about the gold and the nuggets that are within my own journey that I want to like give for others to take and learn from. And just it was just like that one tiny conversation, and then I was like, oh my gosh, yes. And then I have peer mentors who help me with my business. I have a friend who was also a past colleague that we worked together. We worked in the same company and then moved to different companies, but we stayed in touch. And now like there was a time at midnight, I just like emailed her a bunch of things. I said, my business is growing, but I don't have the time, I don't have the bandwidth, and these are all the things that I'm trying to juggle. And I don't know if I should like aim for revenue to be the marker of success, because that's not why I started the side hustle in the first place. So I had all these like clusters of confused thoughts that I was trying to untangle. So I just put it on an email, sent it to her, slept. Then she calls the next day. We have like a 15-minute conversation. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's all so clear to me, right? So there are mentors who help get clarity, and then there are mentors who inspire you to think of something that you probably didn't think
Mhm.
you should consider doing or you could consider doing, right? So I've had the privilege of having so many amazing mentors, but I also want to touch on sponsors.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I saw real growth in corporate career only when sponsors back me. Especially like my accelerated growth in my current company, starting from like a manager role to going all the way to a director in a span of like 24 months. I would not have imagined that to be possible. I didn't pursue it on myself that way. I was trying to like look at opportunities that I qualified for, applied internally. But when the hiring manager reached out to my leader, he gave such like raving positive feedback about me that he didn't withhold me from growth. He didn't withhold I mean, he would lose me if I got that role from his team.
Yeah.
And he could have totally said, oh, she's still learning and she may, be ready in another year or so, which I could see that to be true too. But he believed that if given the opportunity, I would like be ready to grow into it. And he completely supported me behind the doors when it mattered, and that made so much of difference. And I think that was when I truly realized that power of sponsorship, having like a true sponsor versus like thousand mentors who could build you up, but the one person that swings that door open for you, right?
Yes.
So in 2026, one of my personal goals is to actually like identify and cultivate relationships with potential sponsors, because I didn't actively do it up until this point. It just happened to me. But with mentors, I actively like cultivated mentors and identified people. It's not that I identified people. There were moments where people just put themselves in that shoe, and I just recognized that they are a mentor.
I love this
But
conversation about mentorship and also sponsorship. I think sometimes these elements of life and work can be really overlooked. One of the challenges that I know I've worked with my mentors on is work-life balance. How do you manage your work-life balance with both a full-time corporate career as well as this side hustle, which has blossomed?
been thinking about it, I don't think balance is a word I would use to describe my life. I think it's more of leveraging the hyper focus moment to do the things that matter to me and recognizing where I want to put my energy. Like, I think it's a lot of energy management than anything else. So I
Mm.
spend the times that I have the most energy doing the things that I think are most valuable. So empowering others, building a business that can continue to fuel talented professionals who are struggling with inequitable systems, whether it's immigration, whether it's career, whether it's recruitment. There are so many angles to it. But I've also realized that this year, one of my biggest learnings is I managed energy well, but not as much of my time well. I
Mm.
gave too much of my time to a lot of things that I could do more efficiently. So going into next year, that's one of my personal challenge, is to like try. It's almost like a matrix of like energy, time, effort. The money you make, is it worth the time? And you start thinking from that angle, then it's like, oh my gosh, I helped them succeed, but I put so much of time and energy into it. So it's a little bit of a recipe optimization that's happening. But I think the best part about having a side hustle is you can ebb and flow. It's not like my life is not dependent on it. So I take it easy in the months that my other parts of life are more demanding. For example, the last 3 months I've said no to new clients. I've just been taking it easy. I've been doing only the things that I can do and delegating things that I cannot do by myself. And I think over time, I've identified like 10 to 12 people who could do different pieces of what I do and do it probably well because they are really good at that particular thing. So I think
Mm.
identifying that like network of people who could do it, and now I've devalued money from the equation of my business. So I just like pay others to get certain things done to just keep the focus on empowering people. And
Mm.
that is where I find the most intrinsic value from doing what I do. And I enjoy the corporate life of chasing more revenue and profits and margin and doing everything that matters for that. So I think also like supplementing or complementing the business to have different KPIs that balance you in some sense. Like I always think about my day job as where I make all the money, where I try to go like do all these things that matter in corporate world, and then my side hustle as where I feel good, where I feel meaningful, where I mean, this you can find meaning and good in corporate, but not necessarily to the extent you could do with something like this that's a creative outlet, which is combining my years of volunteerism, service, and being like a businesswoman and also a researcher, putting all those heads together and hearts together and trying to build something out. So, tips. I think experimenting, I think, goes to the foundation of it. Just try different things, see what clicks, what works for you. I think I did a lot of things this year that didn't work for me, and I now recognize that it's not sustainable. But there are things that I did find along that experimentation that are scalable or that I can redefine to like build something off of. But I think the fear of failure can prevent people from experimenting. So I think as a researcher, the foundation is you experiment to find whether it works or not. You're not trying to force success, but you just try to see if it works or not. If it doesn't work, you learned it. And I think having that like foundational researcher's mindset is so, so, so helpful. I would leave the audience with that and you guys with that too. And just thinking about how you can wear that researcher's hat.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this episode. I'm excited that this is our first episode of our second season. So Tina and I are very excited to kick it off with you. I don't know if you know that, but when I saw you this summer at Females Info, I was like, oh, I need to go talk to her. I was so excited. I was like, oh, she was talking to people. I don't want to interrupt.
I'm so glad you did. I'm so glad you did. And I'm so always happy to see people recognize me because I write, in a black hole. I write into a black hole, whether it makes sense to spend so much of my energy into this. And then when I meet real people, real lives telling me they recognize me, they feel like they know me through this. It's all like, okay, yes, this is why I do what I do. And it's nice to just make nice connections across. And yeah, hopefully we'll meet again next summer.
I'm sure we will.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been my absolute pleasure getting to know you a little bit, Tamanna. It's fantastic. Thank you so much for being a guest on this episode. Yifat, thank you for your partnership as well. To all of our listeners out there, we hope you will subscribe, tell all your friends, let them know. And if you know of potential guests for our podcast, please get in touch and let us know that too. We'd love to continue to share more stories through our platform. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tina and Yifat.
Thank you for joining us on Success Your Own Way. We hope you found this episode inspiring and took away actionable insights. Please tune in for our next episode, and if you know someone who is rethinking what success looks like in their life, please share this episode with them.